On the heels of another revelation of classified documents found outside of a secure location, this time in former Vice President Mike Pence's Indiana home, the National Archives is asking all former presidents and vice presidents to determine if they currently have classified documents anywhere. Joining me now is Chuck Todd, moderator of NBC's Meet the Press. Chuck, this Sunday you'll be speaking with Republican Congressman Jim Jordan, who is very open about wanting to investigate President Biden. So this now becomes an interesting dance for Democrats. Do they knock the president for his handling of sensitive information, knowing it could give credence to other investigations led by Republicans?
Well, it's been interesting to hear. You've heard a lot of elected Democrats on the congressional side not come to Biden's defense. They will say what Trump did was worse, but they're not defending what Biden did. I think that tells you right away they know that they're not in a great place. I'm going to give you a little hint. We're going to have a brand new NBC News poll that comes out on Sunday. But the most fascinating finding we have is the public seems to be equally outraged about what Trump did and about what Biden did. But here's the even better result that surprised me. Republicans are not happy with Trump, and Democrats are not happy with Biden, meaning even partisans are displeased with how their guy, if you will, has handled this situation. In that sense, I think an elected official needs to be careful here, siding with an institution. The distrust the American public has in general with how Washington institutions work, there is just not going to be any sort of deference given to anybody these days, because I think the public feels like something's rotten in Washington in a bigger way than just partisan this or partisan that. And the results on that question seem to tell me that, I'd be careful only pointing the finger one way, no matter which party you're in.
Chuck, all eyes will be on Memphis as we await the release of footage from Memphis police into the death of Tyree Nichols. It is a big story there, but here in Atlanta, we have seen protests turn violent over the years. Another topic for Congressman Jordan: what are the options for Congress and the president here, depending on what we see in this video and the reaction?
Well, we got so close to getting some federal standards for police reform enacted. We came really close. And arguably, disagreement with police unions essentially stopped it. And so perhaps, let's see, I don't want to, it's hard to prejudge a reaction, right? A lot of people are telling us what we're about to see in a few hours is going to be very hard to watch. And if that is the case, you would assume that it could inspire some actual work, federal legislation, that we've been talking and talking and talking. Clearly, we have police departments. This is systemic. You can't tell me it isn't. There's just too many examples at this point. And I would have thought the murder of 21 first graders with an automatic weapon back in Sandy Hook was going to change the conversation on gun reform in Washington. So we'll see.
Yeah, we certainly will. We'll see something here in Georgia as well. We are waiting to see if a judge releases the grand jury report on the investigation into former President Trump in the 2020 election here in our state. So depending on what the grand jury says, is there any word from Mr. Trump's campaign officials that this will deter his planned 2024 presidential run in any way?
No, I don't think it would deter him at all. I think the question is whether is he going to be indicted? Does he face a trial? Does he face charges, right? Official charges from the state? I think, I think that is something we have not ever faced before with a potential president. Not a potential, he's an active candidate. So I think, but nothing. Do I think any of this would deter him from running? No. The question is, does the act of indicting him, if it happens, and him being put on trial for this in Georgia, if it happens, look, he could get pardoned by the governor for all we know. I'm not saying that is going to happen. I'm just saying you never know, right, from a state charge. It will not deter Trump. The question is, does it end up bothering voters enough that it hurts his chances in a nomination?
A lot to unpack every Sunday morning when you join Chuck for Meet the Press starting at 10 o'clock. That's right here on 11 Alive. Chuck, thanks as always.